I think a lot of times we hear stories of things were going really badly, and so I pivoted, and it's like, that's probably a good idea. Whereas we don't often hear stories of things were going well, but I still decided that it was like time for a change.
When things are going really well, it can feel like, am I making a mistake? Is this the right decision? Why don't I just stick to the plan? But then, like, deep down inside, like, there's that voice that's telling you that it's time to move on.
It's sort of a spirit, really, an entrepreneurial spirit, where there's going to be new things birthed and new things tried, and that's part of the excitement and the creativity of it. But starting out, did you ever envision that it's your first brand was something that you would move on from?
The fear of failure when you're pivoting, because I think that can be something that holds a lot of us back. Maybe you're in an established career and you're changing, or you've just been in something that's familiar, but you know it's time for a different season.
I feel like society does put pressure on women, especially mothers, to either choose one. You can't be too ambitious, or you're not ambitious enough at some point. So it's just like, I think we all just need to do what we're comfortable with.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Conversations. My name's Ruth, and I'm the founder of Magnify, and I'm so honoured to have you as part of our community.
My name's Rachel, and I'm one of the hosts of this show, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to another episode.
If you're new to Magnify, we're a platform and global community focused on equipping ambitious women of faith. We do this through our print magazine, through our events, and through this podcast.
So before you continue watching this video, we have a favour to ask. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button now. This means we can reach more women with gospel-led wisdom and content. So do that now. Today, we sat down with Oye, the founder of Yaura and the co-founder of Virgos Lounge, to talk about building not just one, but two standout fashion brands that reflect the different seasons of her life.
From early success in her 20s to creating a brand that aligns with her values, motherhood, and faith, Oye's story is a beautiful reminder that growth doesn't always mean starting over.
This episode is for anyone questioning what their next chapter could look like.
Let's get into this conversation.
Well, Oye, I'm so excited to have you on the Conversations, and I know Ruth is as well. We are going to be talking today about essentially what nobody tells you about starting again when things are going well. We hear a lot about starting again when something has failed, but what about when it just feels timely to start something new? But with all of our guests, we always have an icebreaker. Okay. So you ready?
Yeah.
It's a business-related one.
Okay.
I want to know from you, as a business owner, entrepreneur, what is another business that you love and admire, and why?
Oh my goodness. This is an easy one, actually. I love Kai Collective.
Yes.
I think what I admire
This wasn't
is...
planned, guys. This wasn't planned.
I just admire the founder and also the community that she's built with the brand. And it's like my vibe is colorful, it's vibrant. So I know I probably shouldn't have picked another fashion brand, but I'm just absolutely obsessed with Kai. Yes.
Yeah, we agree with that. We're obsessed too. So good.
So I have to be honest, Oye, obviously I've known you for a couple of years, and when I thought of this topic, you immediately came to mind because, as Rach said, I think a lot of times we hear stories of things were going really badly, and so I pivoted, and it's like, that's probably a good idea. Whereas we don't often hear stories of things were going well, but I still decided that it was like time for a change. And obviously, like, I knew your brand with your sister that had like a cult following. So I'd love to hear, kind of broadly speaking, why this topic resonates with you, particularly just like where you are in life at the moment.
Yes, no, so you're absolutely right. When things are going really well, it can feel like, am I making a mistake? Is this the right decision? Why don't I just stick to the plan? But then, like, deep down inside, like, there's that voice that's telling you that it's time to move on. And for me, I did try to fight it for a long time, actually. And I was just keeping busy with work and family life. But then it got to a point where I just couldn't fight it anymore. And that was during COVID. Wow. So everything stopped and I had to sit with those feelings and deal with it. And then I decided, I was praying about it a lot, and God actually told me it was time to go. And that just gave me the confidence that I needed to do exactly what I had already been feeling. So I think it's an important conversation because when you start something so young, you don't really know yourself fully. Well, I didn't anyway. And you can feel the pressure to stick it through just because. But as you grow older, and in my case, once I had children, I was more drawn to finding my purpose. I know a lot of people have those feelings early on, but I had them come much later after I had children. So I just had to follow that voice and that instinct, and I haven't regretted it. So
amazing. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'd love to hear, it'd be great to hear how you started in business and what the journey of building your first business was like.
Okay. Yeah, so we started out, I was in university at the time, and we just started selling vintage items, vintage dresses, and we were customizing them and making them either making them shorter, just modernizing it a little bit. And that's how the brand started. There wasn't like a big plan to do this full time. I was in uni studying psychology, and my sister was
completely different.
Yeah, completely different. And so when we started and it started taking off really, really quickly, we just thought there's something here, let's stick to it. And then I went on to do my master's in advertising and marketing. And that was a bit more deliberate to help with the business. And once I finished that, I was able to implement what I had learned. And I saw it make a direct impact on the brand. And I just started enjoying what we were doing, and I just thought, okay, this is it for me. But in terms of being an entrepreneur, I think it's something that I've always knew I would be, because my mom was one, is still one. She's about to turn 70 and she hasn't retired. She still finds something to do. So I think that's kind of innate in me and my siblings as well. So I think that's always been something that I would have ended up doing anyway, but that wasn't always the plan. Yeah.
So because you've had so much success with your first brand, and I think even just the way it came about with your sister, and you didn't expect it to be something that blew up in the way that it did, but it did. I guess my question is, as an entrepreneur, that sort of suggests that it's not just going to be a one-time thing that you start a business, that it's sort of a spirit, really, an entrepreneurial spirit, where there's going to be new things birthed and new things tried, and that's part of the excitement and the creativity of it. But starting out, did you ever envision that your first brand was something that you would move on from?
No, I didn't. I thought once it started growing and at its height, I definitely didn't see myself leaving, because it was something I enjoyed deeply at a time. So I wanted us to grow it together and see it through. But then once those feelings of misalignment started creeping in, I knew that it would probably come to an end for me at some point. I just didn't know when. But then those feelings started growing stronger. And then I finally knew that it was time to step away.
And can you describe a bit where that misalignment came from? Was it kind of an intuitive, a gut feeling? Was it a practical? Was it just how the business was scaling and growing and you thought, I kind of have the fever to do it again? Or
I think it was a mix of things. It was a combination of things. But for me, ultimately, I started a very young family, and things had just gotten so busy on the home front, and I didn't feel like I had much control on the work front. So I wanted to be a bit more in control of my time and just how I balanced and managed things. And I didn't really see that happening if I stayed in the business.
So I guess one of the things I'm really interested in is how being an entrepreneur has shaped your view of identity and ambition. And I'll maybe give some context. I feel like for me, having kids has been really transformative in a variety of ways. Talk less of never know what sleep is anymore. But besides that, I think before I didn't necessarily have a healthy view of work, in terms of it was so much of my identity was in being a founder. And so I didn't feel like I had balance in life, because for me it was all about trying to give every last ounce to making quite successful. And I think now, just having kids, I have a healthier appreciation for how full life can be in a variety of ways outside of work. But particularly for you, because you were involved in building something at such a young age. So as you say, in our 20s, we're still getting to know who we are. But then equally, you're kind of known as the co-founder of this incredible business. How, as you've got older, have you what's the journey of identity been like for you being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, no, so that's a great question, because that's something I really battled with as well. Because when I founded the first business, my name on Instagram was actually, it had the name of the business in it. And it got to a point where I was just like, I started feeling like I don't even want to be not associated with it, but I had just tied so much of myself and
I
my
get that, 'cause
identity
I used to be
to
Ruthie
that.
Mag.
Yeah, I remember. And so I definitely felt like I was giving work my everything, and then life just changed in an amazing way. But then I didn't know how to deal with that shift. So I was trying to hold on to like entrepreneurship so hard and like still balance being a new mom to twins. And it was so hard. But I was like, nope, I'm not going to give this up. I'm going to like give it everything I have and I can. And then eventually I couldn't. Like the burnout was real. And so I decided to slow down. And then when I had my third child after my second pregnancy, I decided to really enjoy that season in a different way than the first, because I regretted not taking the time that I needed. So I did things a bit differently this time. And I think I found a balance or a method that works for me. I know that God blessed me with the business and the creative ideas, and He also blessed me with the children and the family. And I believe that He wants me to be like a good steward to both things.
Yeah.
So He doesn't expect me to drop one thing because of the other, but it's just finding a way to make it work. And I think I'm in a season where it's working really well, and fingers crossed, I'm able to keep like adjusting things where I need to. But I don't feel like I have to be everything at work and everything at home. I feel like what God does for me is if I show up with intention, He usually meets me halfway.
Yeah.
So I do what I can with the capacity that I have, and I know that God will take care of the rest of it. So that's how I've been.
That for me is the real beauty
Yeah.
of age, is like in your like late teens, early 20s, it's like, let me go at 100 miles an hour literally every day of the week. And then you just probably end up falling down from burnout.
It's not sustainable.
And then now it's just like, as you say, the like maturity and wisdom that we're gaining from just life is about more than one thing. And as you say, you know that God has given you your family and it's such a blessing, and you want to be able to like enjoy that season as well.
Do you feel like your definition of success has changed in that time as well? So from kind of exiting your first brand into launching Yaura, what are some of those changes?
So I guess before it was mainly, and it's still very important, but before it was mainly around like sales, getting new stockists, like how many orders are we going to get this season? And all those things are really important in growing a business, of course. But now what really moves me is like the reviews we get from our customers.
Right.
Like we had this new mom in Australia who said she hadn't been out since she had her babies. She had twins as well, actually. And then she had a wedding that summer, and she was really like dreading getting dressed up. And then when she put on one of our pieces, like it just made her feel so incredible. So hearing those stories and having that impact on people, on women specifically, is what I really, really strive for and why I built this brand. And it's what keeps me going.
What kind of lessons have you learned, and how do you feel more equipped? I don't even necessarily mean just from a business perspective, because I think there's loads of our audience, maybe it's like you changed career or maybe ended a long-term relationship and you're starting again. Starting afresh in a different kind of way in your 30s, how have you approached that, and what kind of, I guess, wisdom do you feel like you have to offer in this season? Because I definitely feel like in my 30s, I feel so much more confident in myself. And I feel like it means that whenever you're making decisions, whether it's with family life or career, I just feel like I trust myself a lot more. But kind of starting again in your 30s, how do you feel?
I definitely resonate with that. Like, I'm not saying I know everything, but I can kind of tell where things are going to go before making a decision, just because I feel like I've seen it before. And I'm not always right, but most of the time I kind of have an idea. And even when things don't go how I thought, I'm able to come up with a solution rather quickly. I don't get too emotional about things. Like if something isn't going right, what's the solution? Like we're not going to sit here and cry over it like I probably would have before. And that's what I've noticed in this phase of my life, is that there's just a bit more of a quiet confidence with things.
Wow. And Rachel, maybe asking you, because I know like in your 30s as well, how do you feel like you're approaching, I guess, like changing seasons now that you're like more mature?
I think I was going to say with less fear. I don't actually know if that's true. I think really seeking wise counsel and accepting that it's part of life. I think for me, so maybe, and I don't know if this is just a mindset that I've had, is I've not necessarily been someone who's been like, in 2 years, I want to have done this. In 3 years, I want to have done this. But I've always been very passionate and driven. So that's been a bit of a strange combination, I think, in my personality, is I've thought, I'd love to do this, I'd love to see this, but I've not always had a clear idea of how to get there. I would say as a person, I'm more intuitive than strategic. So I kind of sense like, I think this is the right thing. I think I should like follow my nose a little bit. So I think when it comes to approaching a changing season in my 30s, I think in my 20s, I would have just kind of ignored it. You know, it's like there's a warning light on the car, ignore it. There's a warning light on the car, ignore it. There's a warning light on the car. And then the car breaks down and you're like, there's something that needs to change. I think I've become more sensitive to that intuition. And whether you say it's like the leading of the Holy Spirit or just a sense within yourself, I guess similar to you when you were saying there just started to be a feeling that there might be something different. There might be, there's the wind of change, there's a seed of change. I think I pay more attention to the smallness of that now rather than just waiting for this has all fallen down. And that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Like you can be doing something really good and then think, but I sense a change. And from the outside, people think, why? I don't even really understand why you would change right now. Like you've got a good thing, and I'm sure people had their own opinions as well. I'd be interested to hear about that in terms of if you communicated this to others.
I did. So I spoke to my mom about it, and she was going to go on like a prayer and fasting expedition over it. She just couldn't believe it because she was obviously there when we started, and she saw how much like love and passion we had for it. So she was like, are you sure you're okay? You know, you've just had babies not too long ago. Maybe you should just take some time and then you change your mind. But at that point, I was certain, and I had heard from God about it. So just like you said, I think over the years, I've become a lot more sensitive to the Holy Spirit and just listening to him and allowing him guide me, because when I have allowed him to guide me, it's never failed. So I'm just trusting his voice a lot more. And so once I had that confirmation from him, there wasn't really anything any outside voices could do to change my mind. And I'm glad that I listened.
Yeah. How about you, Ruth? So even just thinking the difference between your 20s and your 30s with magnifying other work that you've done in how you kind of respond to change. Like how's it been different, say 10 years ago from now?
It sounds weird, but I never, in my 20s, particularly with Magnify, I didn't feel worthy of the fact that God wanted me to enjoy life. I know that sounds weird and like very deep. Because I've always been like, he's called me to this vision, like it's all about sacrifice. And so I think like with my 20s, even when I was burning out, I was always like, you know, obviously I've told the story before, but obviously leaving a full-time job to do this full-time. People were like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I was like, for free. That was a full-time volunteer. That's what I was. And I was like, maybe God has just called me to this. Like, you know, everyone else is supposed to do whatever they're doing, but I'll be struggling for the kingdom. And I think, again, maybe after I got married and just before I had kids, I started to feel like this isn't sustainable because I'm going to become resentful of this. And so I think in my 30s now, I just feel worthy of God's love for me specifically. And I know it sounds weird because obviously I've been leading a vision that's about showing women that for themselves. But I think you can believe that for other people, even those closest to you, and not always believe it for yourself. And I think that that's just like shifted the way that I see things. And I think the second thing that shifted for me in my 30s is my mindset. And when I was younger, like when people would be like, oh, mindset, I was like, please, guys, can we not have all this theoretical nonsense? And I've really seen that your mindset makes such a difference. So there's like a phrase, I think it's a commonly used Nigerian phrase, but often actually your parents would use it if you hadn't done well in school and you'd say someone else had, and they'd be like, does that person have two heads? But the way that I've applied it is more even dreams that I feel like God has given me or gifts, and seeing other people who are using their gifts in a certain way.
Yeah.
In my 30s, my view is more like, do they have two heads? Not in a like competitive way,
Comparative type
but
way.
more like they're also just a normal human being like
Yeah.
I am. So if they could step out of the boat and do it, you could. And finally, I would say I don't care about being embarrassed, because I think with this conversation, the idea of pivoting and doing something new, even if it's been in a field where you've got experience, you might have done well, it's still a new thing. And I think in my 20s, I was very preoccupied with, oh, what will people think about it? Or like this person that I went to school with, they might think that what I'm doing is weird or cringe. Whereas in my 30s, I just don't care for those things. And I don't care, what's that phrase? At the cost of entry is embarrassment. And so I'm enjoying the journey of getting to, I don't even feel embarrassed, but I'm enjoying the journey of like trying new things. So yeah, I just feel like I'm having the time of my life in my 30s, pivoting.
Yeah, that's amazing, honestly. And I really relate to that as well, because one thing I always used to say was I'm a behind the scenes person. But
Yeah,
then,
because before, obviously knowing you were like, you didn't really see you as much as you.
it was very deliberate, but God has told me like in this season, you have to put yourself out there a bit more. So for me, my top two fears have always been speaking in public, on camera, and chickens.
Chickens is a very random
It's
one.
very random. But I've conquered one, which is the speaking one. The chickens one, not so much. So I knew that God just wanted me to be out there a bit more, to put my voice out there. He has a lot more to say through me. I don't know exactly what yet, but I'm just following, listening, and enjoying the journey, rather, like you said, rather than being like embarrassed about it, just enjoying it. And it's been good so far.
Where do you think the hesitation came from putting yourself kind of, I understand like it's in front of a camera or social media or being even the face of the brand. Where do you think that fear sort of originated?
Well, I've had it for so long, and I feel one of the things was my voice, being like teased by aunties about my voice, sounding a certain way. And then just over time, that just makes you feel insecure. And the more you don't speak, the less you feel like you have to say, and like no one wants to hear from me. And I just made something, like a little comment someone made years ago, I just made it so big. And then when I realized that all of that wasn't true, I think that's when everything really changed for me. A lot of my friends, when I started posting, were like, what's going on? Like, this is, but like, they're like, this is amazing, but it's
This
out
is the
of
AI
character.
version of Oye,
And they were
not
like,
the real one.
they were like commenting on my posts, just like being very encouraging, just so that I wouldn't stop, because everyone knew how like much of a big deal it was for me. But I think it's just to continue doing it. And I think growth comes like from discomfort. So I'm happy to be uncomfortable, and then it gets easier over time.
What about you, Ruth? I'm just interested. It's only just a quick question. Even just being in front of the camera, because I know you've really been doing that loads more. Like, what had held you back from doing that previously?
It's getting deep now, guys. It's interesting how you say that some things that people can say to you, even as throwaway comments, can really stick with you. So for me, I've always been told, like, you've got such a posh voice. And so when you're building a brand that you want to appeal to as diverse a range of women, I was always like, if that's people's perception, I don't want to put myself out there in case people then feel like this community isn't for them. I think that was a part of it. I think also I felt like I came out of it when I had my son. But for the last 2 years, looking back, I realized I was suffering from burnout. And so then when it's also having to be the face of your brand as well as doing so much behind the scenes, I was just like, that's just too many different things to be managing. And then I think now I've come to a happy medium where in my 20s, it was like my entire identity was magnified. As I said, I was literally called Ruthie Mag on social media. And then it went from this cannot be any part of my identity to now being like, this is a huge part of, I'm 36, I've done Magpie for 16 years. It's a huge part of my story. And I feel like now I speak more because I also see how my sharing the real parts of my journey are helping many different people. Because I think sometimes when you see Magnify, you don't realize one, that we're a very small team. Two, that it's been a very, very long time. And three, there have been many points where I wanted to give it up. You often just see like, oh, the super polished podcast, not knowing that this could have stopped 7 years ago. And so I think now I feel more confident to show up online because I feel like I have a purpose as opposed to just like randomly talking on the internet for no reason. And I just feel like more comfortable with my identity isn't in Magnify, but also embracing the fact that it is anyone who might know me, probably they will know me because of Magnify. So yeah, just embracing that, but also coming to a place where I feel very comfortable with being multifaceted. And Rachel, I'd love to hear from you because obviously like you've been in ministry since you were 17 and you're often been known as like Rachel, who's a pastor. How have you, navigated, and I guess it's a question for both of you, how have you navigated wanting more for life, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're unhappy or dissatisfied with the journey?
Yeah, I think, because I've thought about this a lot recently. So I'm still in ministry, but I was in full-time ministry until I had my children. So obviously that was taking up a lot of time. And it's been my focus, poured my heart and soul into people and building the local church. And I love that. I believe it was the right thing. But a few years ago, started to feel like and it's that intuitive thing again. It wasn't strategic, like, I just want to do this. So now what's my plan to get from A to B? That's just not the way that I am. So I'd started to just sense, I feel like there's something more. I feel like there's some different things. And as I started to take steps on that something more, which like we've not got time to talk about now, small things, little things, I started to walking through another door, if that makes sense. It's almost like you've got to start walking and you start to, but how have I handled that? I think it's been way more about me dealing with that than anybody else. I don't think anybody else has ever had a problem, because sometimes people just see you as one thing and it's like, how can you be anything else? Like, that's just what you are. I don't think has been the situation for me. I think it's been more that I've had to get my head around these two things or three things can coexist. And I feel like I'm still figuring it out. Like, how do they all blend together? Because that doesn't fit a neat career path, or it doesn't fit this just type of person. I've always had a thing in my head of like, I just never want to be a stereotype. But that's been more my baggage to deal with. I think that what I've seen is as I've started to embrace, hang on, I am multifaceted. That's what it is. That's just who I am in the last few years. People have celebrated that way more. And they said, we're so glad that you're actually doing this and embracing this rather than just staying where you are. And I found more people, sometimes Ruth, you would say about like destiny helpers, actually aligning with me when they've seen that.
Wow.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's been more of a hurdle for me than anybody else.
So I guess maybe leading on for that, Oye, why do you think then so many women, we feel guilty for wanting something more, wanting to pivot? Because I feel, not to generalize, but if you were to talk to a lot of guys who are similar age to us, they're just like,
it's not even a conversation.
It's exciting to be doing something different. I feel like as women, we feel, I don't want to use this word in like a cliche way, but like reinventing ourselves sometimes, we feel guilty about that because we feel guilty about wanting more for our lives. Why do you think we do feel those feelings?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, it's been, I've only felt that way because of like society and what people have said about like, you're a mother now, like these children are your life, like you don't need to work so hard. And it's like, they have their own lives. Eventually they're going to go off and do their own thing. I don't want to look back and regret like giving up something that was for me. And I feel like you can do both, so why not try? So I feel like society does put pressure on women, especially mothers, to either choose one. You can't be too ambitious, or you're not ambitious enough at some point. So it's just like, I think we all just need to do what we're comfortable with, what we want to do. That's how I see it anyway.
So I'd love to hear more about how your faith journey has like evolved and grown and how it shapes your view of identity and entrepreneurship.
Okay, so my faith journey, I've always been a Christian. I believe my come to Jesus moment was when I was like 6 or 7, so really young. But my faith, like really trusting God, grew when I was about 28. And it was when I met my husband and just how quickly things progressed. And as soon as we met, God told me, like, that's your husband. And in other situations, at the beginning, he'll tell me, you're just wasting your time. I wouldn't listen, but...
We all have those stories.
Yeah, exactly. But once I trusted and I saw how quickly he moved things, and then with our kids as well, I just knew I just have to trust God and listen to him. And with the business, the first business, leaving at the time that I did, I just noticed every time I listen to God, something amazing happens in my life that I wasn't even prepared for. I wouldn't have been able to predict. So I've been trusting his voice and even when it's like now, even when it's hard, I still do it because I know that something amazing is going to come out at the end of the day. So for example, with Yaura, there was a point in time where things were just so hectic on the home front. So I just had to really pause on things. And I thought, okay, what's going to happen? Because I had left Virgos Lounge and I was now focusing on Yaura. And when I did that, I felt like, is this going to be the end of this business as well? Am I going to be a failure? But I let things slow down naturally. And when I was able to step back into it, God just did things that would have taken like maybe 2-3 years to do. And it was happening in like the space of 6 months. Wow. And I'm like, is this the God I'm not going to listen to? Like, I have to listen to him. Yeah. And he's never steered me wrong. He's never failed me. So my relationship with him at the moment is very strong, and I just want to continue building and growing.
You touched upon something, and I'd love to hear from both of you if you've got thoughts on the fear of failure when you're pivoting, because I think that can be something that holds a lot of us back. Maybe you're in an established career and you're changing, or you've just been in something that's familiar, but you know it's time for a different season. Is that fear of failure? What are some of the tools that either of you have used? Kind of, maybe it's a mindset thing that have helped you kind of get over that hurdles that you do actually start something. So say when you were starting to build Yaura, did you have that fear of like, this might not work or this might not be as successful? How did you kind of overcome that so it wasn't something that held you back?
So I didn't really have that when I left the first business. It was when I had to take a break when I founded Yaura, which is when I was pregnant with my third child. I thought I wouldn't be able to come back to the business as I knew it. And I didn't think the business would be able to survive that break. So there was definitely a lot of fear in that. Even in the lead up to planning on having a third child, I wanted it, but I was also hesitant because I thought I'm going to have to choose between work and family again. But God told me it was the right thing to do. It was the right time to do it. And I didn't fully trust, even when I listened, I didn't fully trust. But then that's when I had that fear of failure. And then I started working with a coach that really helped me work on my mindset and just building belief. And one of the things she said to me that really struck me was, all these plans you have for your business, like, who set them? And I'm like, well, me. So she's like, if you have, like, I think you touched on this, if you have like a deadline for certain things, you're the one who set that deadline. You can shift it a little bit and it sounded so simple, but I had never thought about it like that. So I think just practicing things like that made me a bit more confident in myself, and like, you've done this before and God has told you that it's the right thing to do. So it's just building that belief slowly over time.
I think for me as well, a bit of an anti-fear tool is just, you can have lots of thoughts in your head and lots of dreams and lots of visions, and they're safe kind of within the privacy of your mind. But when you start to share them and articulate them with the right people, I think it becomes real, because things can exist within your mind and you tell it to somebody who loves you enough to push you, hold you accountable and say like, okay, how's that going? You know those people, you all have those people in your lives. Sometimes it's a spouse or a friend or a business mentor, and you tell them something, they don't let it go. So I found it's quite an antidote to fears to start to say something out loud, because it gives you the push to go, okay, it's real, it's out in the ether, and now we're gonna go with it. And then I also heard someone say recently, and I was like, well, that was for me, I think, miss the bus running. In other words, like, if you're going to miss the bus running. Just so to kind of say, like, yeah, you know what, you might miss the bus. There might be an element of failure in your next step, but at least you've run at it with everything you've got, and you didn't just stand there and it went past and you said, oh, well, oh dear. You actually ran after it. That really impacted me.
I'm going to take that.
Miss the bus running. I can't take credit for it. I'd love to hear a bit more just about Yaura, and maybe what's like, I don't know if this is like too deep or whatever, but what's like your big vision for it?
I think that the main highlight for me has been just the feedback that we've had from our customers, like I mentioned. And more recently, we had Buzama St. John, where I think she's won about 3 different pieces. And she actually sent me a message on Instagram just saying how she was obsessed with the pieces. And I'm like, what? So that was a big one. And then just hearing our customers just letting us know how the clothes made them feel. And because it's occasion wear, so it's dressing women for like their special occasions. So being part of those stories as well, we get people telling us about like the event, the award they were nominated for, and that they actually won while wearing the dress. So just those stories and hearing from these women has been the most beautiful thing for me.
So I'd love to hear actually just the experience of running a fashion brand with 3 children and being married, because I feel like you must be juggling so many different things. So yeah, how do you kind of do it all?
Yeah, so like I touched on before, it's just been me managing like myself and like expectations as well. So if something isn't looking feasible on the home front, then I just change plans. I've just become a lot more adaptable and flexible with things. And then I also have a great support system. My husband is very supportive. And at the moment, we have an incredible nanny that I just trust so much, especially with the baby. So having that really does make me feel like I can do all the things, but I'm taking it day by day, step by step. I'm not trying to like wish anything away or like rush the process. I'm just enjoying it. I think it's a lot slower than I'm used to, but it definitely feels more fulfilling for me because I'm still able to balance things at home very well and run the business. So sometimes I get to shoot like photo shoots, content days. I do it at home when the kids are away at school or in nursery. So it's just working things into my life and into my schedule. I feel like that's something that's very different from the first business. And I think this works a lot better for me in this season of my life. So I'm not trying to like, at the moment, attain like those dramatic highs. I'm just happy with things kind of growing at a steady pace. And then in the future, maybe when my youngest is a bit older, I'll be quite happy to like just kick things up a bit because I'm still very ambitious. So it's not like I just want to like stay on the same level. But at the moment, I'm happy with the way things are going and I'm just building gradually, bit by bit, block by block.
Because that's something that I've really been wrestling with, is that ambition can look different in different seasons. And I've had to I've really struggled with that, I'll be honest, because I think like both of you, I'm very much like a go-getter. I want to use my gifts like the best of my ability. And having kids has been like the biggest shock to the system, more just in terms of like the time available. It's not available. It's not available. And so knowing that you can, as you say, you can still be deeply ambitious, but also learning to live in the moment and not wish away this season when my kids are still really young. Like I'm sure when they're 24 and want to be with their friends all their time, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I wish. So yeah, I've had to really wrestle with ambition can look different in different seasons. And I think that that's really important to give yourself grace, because sometimes I used to think, am I losing my ambition? The fact that I'm like, I just want things to be like slower and more balanced. I was like, no, I'm still ambitious and wired in that way. It's just I'm recognizing and embracing the actual season that I'm in.
And I think it's good to hear you say that as well. That things are slower at the minute, but that doesn't mean it's going to stop forever.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Because the ideas that are in my head, they're not going anywhere. So definitely, but I think it's just like you said, giving yourself the grace to, and also enjoying the season you're in, because it's so important. It goes, people say this all the time, but it really does go quickly. Like the twins are 7 now, they're in year 2, and sometimes
7.
they don't.
I remember when you had the twins.
Yes, like they don't have our time anymore. It's already started. It's like, no, we just want to like play together. We don't want anyone to disturb us. I'm like, oh, okay. So I know that this stage that we're in with the 2-year-old now, I know he's going to get to that stage as well.
Yeah.
And then I can focus a bit more on work. But for now, I'm just like managing the 2.
Wow.
And it just sounds like you're building also a brand community. So not just a clothing brand, but actually a community. Just from the feedback and what's driving you as well is really how these women are feeling when they're wearing your clothing.
Definitely. And we also make that a point with like our social media content, our newsletter content. So just sharing things that we feel like these women would resonate to, that don't just have anything to do with fashion
Just the clothing.
sometimes, just like mindset, what podcasts are we listening to, what books are we reading, and just trying to understand these women and share their stories as well, because a lot of them are doing really incredible things. So once we see that, we share it, reposting it on our stories. They don't have to be wearing the pieces for us to share their story, but just building that community has been really, really exciting.
Yeah. So what kind of a legacy do you hope to leave through Yaura that's beyond the clothing?
So I want Yaura to be a brand that touches women and just helps them bring out that inner light that we all have. Because in this world, especially as women and as mothers, it can be very hard to live your truth, your entire truth. And I know it's just fashion, but I think fashion is a big part of the way we express ourselves. And I know for me, it's definitely been something that has changed my life. Growing up as an introvert and still an introvert, fashion was something that helped me stand out. So I know that when I wear something colorful or sparkly and I go out to an event, I'm not going to strike a conversation up with someone, but someone might walk up to me and be like, oh, I really like what you're wearing. And then that starts the conversation. So that's how impactful it has been in my life. So I know that it can impact people. And that's the legacy I'm trying to leave with it.
Okay, so if a woman is listening to this and feels like a nudge to pivot, what kind of, I guess, 2 bits of final encouraging advice would you give her?
I'll say that she should trust her instincts, definitely pray about it. Those feelings don't just come from nowhere. Take the time to really understand what's going on, but don't dismiss it. Like never dismiss what you're feeling, because it could change like the trajectory of your life for the better. So it's definitely something to really take seriously. Like for me, I initially pushed it to the side. Do I wish I made that change earlier? I don't know. But I'm glad that I eventually listened and pray about it, trust God, and just be bold about it. Take that step. And I don't think you would regret it. If it's something that God has given you the go-ahead to do, I don't think you would regret it.
Yeah, great. And then just lastly, as a community, we just love to support our guests. You're part of our community. So we just love to hear like where we can find you online. I think especially with your brand, you're like, can we order? Like, come on, like give us, what's your favorite piece from the collection is a second question I'm going to add to that.
Okay.
After you tell us where we can find you online.
Okay, so our website is yaurafashion.com. Our Instagram is yaurafashion. And we also have a special discount for Magnify, which is Magnify 20. So that's available to use now at the checkout. And my Instagram is Oye Buraimo. And yeah, you said, what's my favorite?
Your favorite piece from the collection at the minute?
Ooh. So our bestseller is the Fari. And we have it in multiple colors. I think I've worn all the colors. And I also really like what I'm wearing today.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Oye. This has been, it's really helpful. Insightful, and just wonderful to meet with you as well and speak with you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, being on Magnify was on my vision board.
Wow.
And it's only April and we're here. So
That's amazing.
thank you so much for
we had
having
the best
me.
time. Thank you so much, love.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation. We hope you feel as enlightened as we do.
We never want to take it for granted that we get to gather together online to encourage and inspire each other to put our best foot forward in our careers, finances, and relationships, all while being grounded in our faith.
If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and be the first to get notified when a new installment of the Magnify Conversation drops.
We know so many of our audience have a story to share. If you want a shot at joining us as a guest for a future episode, get in touch with Team Magnify by heading to Magnify Collective and filling out our contact form.
And if you're a brand who would like to sponsor our upcoming seasons, whether that's in the UK or internationally, get in touch with us at info@magnifycollective.com to connect.
We'll see you soon for another episode of the Magnify Conversations. From all our team and crew, have a wonderful week.